Hey, welcome. Today we are cracking open the user manual for the most powerful and confusing piece of tech you will ever own, your brain. We're going to find the cheat codes, the secret strats to make your brain work for you instead of against you. The goal? Get more done so you have more time for the stuff you actually want to do. All right, let's get into it.
I mean, for real. You've got that huge essay, that big project, something you know you need to do, and yet you just can't. It feels like you're literally in a battle with yourself, and honestly, it's exhausting. If that sounds familiar, you're not lazy, and you're definitely not alone. You're just using the wrong game plan.
For like ever, the advice has been the same, right? Just have more willpower, just push through it, try harder. But what if I told you that is legit the worst advice you could possibly get? Relying on willpower alone is like trying to charge your phone with good vibes. It's a total trap, and we are about to bust this myth wide open.
Okay, so check this out. There's this scientific concept called ego depletion, and what it proves is that your willpower isn't some infinite magic power. Nope, it's a finite resource, just like the battery on your game controller. Every single decision you make, every time you resist scrolling on your phone, you're draining that battery. So trying to just try harder all day long is basically guaranteeing you're going to run out of juice.
So if willpower is the problem, what's the solution? It's all about systems. Think about it. Willpower is so flaky. It disappears when you're stressed or tired. But systems? Systems are reliable. They're habits that you build to run on autopilot, which saves all your precious brain power for the stuff that actually matters. So forget building more willpower. We're going to build smarter systems.
All right, first things first. Let's talk about your brain's sneaky little tricks. Turns out that crazy urge to procrastinate isn't some deep character flaw. It's actually a built-in feature, kind of like a glitch in our programming that we can totally learn to exploit.
Does this sound familiar? Your brain sees a massive, intimidating project and just panics. So to cope, it scrambles to get a quick little hit of that "I'm being productive" feeling. It focuses on small, easy, mindless stuff. Reorganizing your desk, alphabetizing your apps. It feels useful, but it's really just your brain's clever way of avoiding the actual hard work.
But this is where we find our first real cheat code. It's called the Zeigarnik effect. This is basically a glitch in our brains that makes us hate leaving things unfinished. You know that feeling when a show ends on a massive cliffhanger and you just have to see what happens next? That's it. And we can absolutely use this to our advantage.
And just how powerful is this thing? Well, get this. In one study, they gave people these tricky puzzles, but stopped them right before they could finish. And guess what? Even though they were told to stop, over 90% of them just kept working on the puzzles anyway. Their brains couldn't let it go. So what's the takeaway? The hardest part is just starting. Once you're in, your brain will be begging you to finish.
Okay, so now we know how to trick our brain into actually starting something. But how do we keep going without completely burning out? This is where we learn the pro strats. The most productive people on the planet, they don't just grind for 12 hours a day. They work way smarter and use their energy strategically.
Take this study of elite violin players. You'd think the best of the best to be the ones practicing all day long, right? Wrong. The research showed the absolute top performers didn't practice more hours. They practiced more intensely. They would focus on the hardest stuff in these short, deliberate bursts, and they actually got more sleep than everybody else. It's all about the quality of your focus, not the quantity of your time.
And here is the system they used, which you can totally steal. It's called the 90-15 rule, and it lines up perfectly with our body's natural energy cycles, these things called ultradian rhythms. You go hard with total focus for 90 minutes, then you take a real 15-minute break. I'm talking no phones, no email, just completely unplug. Then you just repeat the cycle.
And the difference this makes is insane. Trying to grind all day keeps your focus at this low, mediocre level. You're kind of just there. But when you work in these intense 90-minute sprints, your focus can peak at a much, much higher level because your brain knows a break is coming soon. It's the difference between slowly jogging a marathon versus running a series of powerful sprints.
Okay, but what about the biggest productivity killer of all time? Distraction. We all blame our phones, notifications, the world around us. But what if the real enemy isn't what you think it is? What if the call is coming from inside the house?
This is wild. Research shows that only about 10% of our distractions come from the outside world, like a notification or a ping. A whopping 90% of our distractions, they start from within.
They're what we call internal triggers. Uncomfortable feelings like boredom, anxiety, or just being tired. Stuff we desperately want to escape from. That's why you pick up your phone. Not because it buzzed, but because you were bored for a second.
And the master of all internal distractions? Multitasking. Yeah, we feel super productive, jumping between a million different tabs, but the science is crystal clear. Multitaskers are actually terrible at, well, everything involved in multitasking. You can't filter info, you can't switch tasks well, and your memory just tanks. So, in the wise words of Ron Swanson, never half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing.
So this brings us to a super important idea. The opposite of distraction isn't focus, it's traction. Traction is any action that pulls you toward what you want to do. Distraction pulls you away. The only difference between them is one little word, intent. Playing video games can be traction, if that's what you plan to do to relax. But checking productive work emails when you're supposed to be writing your paper, that's a distraction.
So, we have just installed a major software update for our brains. Let's do a quick recap of the new power-ups you've just unlocked. Think of this as your new and improved productivity skill tree.
All right, here's your new toolkit. Number 1, just start, even for 5 minutes. That's all it takes to trigger that Zeigarnik effect. Number 2, work in 90-15 sprints to keep your focus laser sharp. 3, use the 10-minute rule. When you feel that urge to get distracted, just tell yourself, okay, but in 10 minutes. The urge will probably just disappear. 4, plan your traction. Decide the night before what you're going to do. And 5, track your progress. Even a simple chart of what you actually got done is a huge motivator.
At the end of the day, being productive isn't about grinding yourself into dust. It's about being smarter with your time, so you have more freedom and more energy for the things that you actually care about. So the real question is, now that you have the cheat codes, what are you going to unlock with all that time?